Barbara. I'm a Franciscan Missionary of Mary. I am the oldest speaker tonight, and I'm the only expatriate speaker tonight. I have been here 39 years. And that's unbelievable because I'm only 45 years of age. I arrived here in Liberia in 1977. I was young, American, vivacious health worker who thought she was going to cure every single disease in Nimba County. Well, I'll tell you, I soon learned I got my strength and my courage from the people. At St. Mary's Clinic, one of my jobs was to train traditional midwives. Being a midwife myself, I knew how important it was to have safe and clean deliveries. The traditional midwives were doing the best they could with the culture they could and the way they could. But the syllabus for training traditional midwives would have taken close to a month every day of the week for 8 hours. And these women didn't have that time. They were farmers. They had to be on the farm. Farming was their life. So they agreed in all the villages around, they would spend 1 day a month staying in the village to learn safe delivery. 1 day a month from their farm work, which was important for them to stay alive, to learn safe deliveries. And thus began my education in resilience. Everybody asks me all the time when they meet me, 39 years, how have you done it? How? You stay hopeful, you stay positive. Well, I am a religious, I'm a woman of faith. I have faith and hope also in the Liberian people. In the past 39 years, I have seen the good, I've seen the bad, and I've seen the ugly. I have looked at evil in the war, eye to eye. My faith was not always strong. I'm sorry. It became weak, especially in the wartime. I joined MSF, Doctors Without Borders, from Danane, where the Franciscan Missionaries of Mary had set up camps for the refugees in Ivory Coast. And we went into Kakata. In Kakata, I saw insanity. I saw people being inhuman. And yet I would spend nights listening to the rebels and their stories, and they were horror stories. And they were real. But the Liberians did not give up, and I would not give up. I define resilience in this way. When you're overwhelmed, you're exhausted, you're trampled down, you've had it, you're fed up, and you get up. That to me is resilience. One day, we took 3 weeks inside of Kakata, 1 week out, to keep our sanity, actually. And one day, I went out to Danane, and the sisters were having a retreat. So I decided I will take the retreat. And into the retreat, the priest knew me very well. I said to him, honestly, I'm sorry. My faith is extremely weak, if I have any at all, with the horrors I've seen. I've lost my faith in God. I do not understand how he can let this all happen. I've lost my faith in humanity and myself. You know what he said to me? He said, Barbara, let's go for a cold beer. I said, huh? He said, let's go for a cold beer. I said, no meditation, no prayers. He said, cold beer. So we went for a cold beer. But he listened, and I talked, and I talked, and I told my story, and I cried, and I cried. My faith, I'm sorry, remained wobbly for quite a while. And I returned to Calcutta. And you have to understand, in Calcutta at the time, in the war, I was stationed at St. Christopher's Catholic Church, a compound. And it was really a hostage camp. Ghanaians and Nigerian nationals mostly. There were 3 camps: St. Christopher's, Slocum Mission, and Sa Philip Joe. And my job was to distribute rice and food because I spoke a little Mano. So it was easy for me to go to the border, talk to the small Pekins, and get food in. So we distributed food. Also, we distributed packages to those who walked from Monrovia. And here's how my faith came back. One day, I was sitting at a distance, and the registration line was there, and honestly speaking, the lines after a while became gray, and people just were walking. They were coming in, registering, taking their package, and going. But one day I looked, and I saw these huge legs, swollen, infected, oozing. And I looked, and I walked over, and there was this mama with a child on her right and a child on her left. And I said, "Mama, what's your name?" She told me her name. And she said, "This is my daughter," told me her name. I said, "But Mama, what about the other child?" "Oh," she said, "I call her Spirit." I said, "Spirit?" And so I listened to her story. She walked from Monrovia to Fendel. From Fendel it got risky, so they had to move on and walk to Calcutta. Now, Monrovia to Calcutta is 90 miles. Walking. Whose legs wouldn't be swollen? But when she was walking from Fendel to Calcutta, she heard this crying off the road. And in those days, you walked like this. You didn't look right, you didn't look left, you just kept on walking. But she took that chance and walked off into the bush, into a house, and she said it was all dead bodies with the child in the middle crying. She picked that child up, and she walked on to Calcutta. And thus, my faith began to grow. And I said to her, "But Mama, how? How did this happen?" She looked at me and she said, "Sister, God day. God day. God is there." From this woman, I began to believe again in Liberians and resilience. And didn't we learn that in Ebola? Didn't we? Everybody was afraid. Bodies here, bodies there. 13 years of war, Ebola epidemic, overwhelmed, overcome, Liberians got up. This is resilience. For me, I, Sister Barbara, a Franciscan Missionary of Mary, am a woman of faith. I believe wherever I am sent, I'm sent to the people who I am sent to be present and to be. Today, here, and now, I am sent to the people of Liberia. I thank you.